Right, another phone call interruption. I've just been having a dig through my capacitor collection, and these, I've not got the exact values, but these seem the most likely ones. Got a 1000 microfarad 16 volt. It should do for the first one. I think it'll just fit. And then a 470 at 10, which I think hopefully it should be reasonable. These are both high temperature ones, 105 degree C rated, so in normal use they should hopefully have a reasonable life. So that one's easy enough to get in there. And it is hardly any bigger. It's still got a reasonable clearance to the transistor pattern, as long as it's across that way. I'm hoping that transistor will still go back in okay, or transistor, it might be diode. Probably rectifier diode, actually. It's a TO220 device anyway. So, yeah, that's soldered in. Stop that one escaping. That's not leaning inwards at all. It outwards a bit of anything. Whatever that is has got a very long stray lead on it as well. One of the originals. Now, considering how short the standoffs are on this, there's some very deep joints on it underneath. Anyway, that's that one in. There's a joint there that I appear to have warmed up when I was desoldering things, so I'll just redo that. And that other capacitor's got to go in down that little gap there. Again, negative to the left. Leads a bit off. It's gone. Right. Oh, that one drops in nicely. It's quite a loose fit. Whether this is the entirety of the fault is another matter. I have no idea. But find out. That one there. Just because it is loose, I'll try and hold it in place with the other lead until that one's cooled, and then I can do that one as well. Right, the next thing is try and fit the heatsink back in so I can test it. All the power devices. There's quite an array on it. Looks like these are all dual rectifiers. 30 amp, 45 volt, to guess from the number. STPS 3045 on those. That one, STPS again, 2045, so 20 amp, 45 volt. Just clean the pins, just flow the pins first. Get any blobs off that could prevent them going through. But it's also quite a that holding pin was pretty much a dry joint. There's only one of them actually doing anything. anchors. Right. Oh, I've got to put that temperature sensor back on. That needs a bit of silicon power on it. This is separated out a bit. I want to be I'm trying to be a bit careful so I don't suddenly shoot all the liquid out the mix. It's separated. It's been stood in one direction unused too long. All the particles are settled through liquid. Right, and that one uses this little washer screw. And so I've got to get that into there. Get the screw on the screws. If I can get the wires right position and the screw on the end of the screwdriver, and hopefully that's it started. Get that in. And that's actually on top of some of the insulating washers. Isn't very good. That's how it was, I believe, so that's how it's going back. Oh, that's that one. This needs to go back in place. Gets that end in. That was too easy. Something else is going to go wrong. That can't have fixed it. Murphy's Law says it now. That was not quite all the way. It does appear to be in place, which I'm quite surprised about. Yeah, it wasn't seated properly before. Look at the length of all those leads now. That lead there. Way longer than they were before. That's why that tab has got a bad joint on it. I think it had never been seated in place. So we solder the heatsink fixing tabs first, so it can't move about. And we sort out the wires, the leads. And I don't know where my sponge has gone. Oh, it's up there. It's totally dry, which is no good, but it does remove a bit of flux. Right, so we've got 12 component leads to solder. Try and work away, whichever side you prefer the iron, that's the side you should work to. Then you've not got the back of the iron on a solder blob, or as close to a solder blob that could cause it to flow across the bridge. If it was going that way, then I would be heating, especially there, that space, and I can't heat a joint there in the middle, say, without touching the one to the right. So I work towards the side you use the iron on. That's what I always try to do when possible. It reduces the chance of bridging. And some of these are going to need trimming down because they've gone through the board further than they were originally. And they're all longer on this side. At least the heatsink's properly secured now. Yeah. The length of those wires there now compared to the rest of the board. So they definitely need a trim. And so that heatsink tab wasn't actually through the board properly. It was barely flush with the top before, and that's why it was never fitted right. It's got that all trimmed. not all the joints all the way through. Get rid of all the oddments. I've got that to put back on there, just to keep that out of the way to avoid it shorting anything. These are serrated screws, so they're self-locking, or they should be. They were still tight. Okay, that bit there is supposed to stick back down in the gap between the heatsink and the transformer windings. Which is a good snug fit, so that'll be okay there. And the tools and bits, and get all the bits of desoldering and lead residue out of the way. I'll just try this and plug it in and see what happens. Right, with that way round, okay, you can't actually see it. Try and move the camera around a bit. Okay, that's the area I'm looking at, and the actual output, which is there. I'm going to move that this way. I want that in range without having to touch anything much whilst it's powered up. So I'm trying to get that to hold in place somewhere. That's better. So I'm getting a meter on it without touching the main board. And now it's bringing it back, so it's going to try and touch that capacitor. And it's going to the other end. The gap's getting a bit short. Okay, that's getting awkward. So I'm just trying to arrange this so it's safe to plug in without me having to put my fingers near anything or move it about too much. I'd be better off moving it further onto the bench. Oh, power cable that won't reach that way, probably. So possibly that way. Put the meter on there. You see the whole thing. That's the contact point I'm worried about. If that moves too much, it pulls in. Just have to be careful. So I'm beyond voltage. I mean, the first thing to do is actually just plug the meter straight in. Positive. It won't actually plug in well. I've got to hold it. I'll be into the purple and black connections to see if I've got voltage there. I can test across the capacitor. On this point, let me just check for short circuits on the back of this. At this point, we might lay down to some extent. We can keep the things away from it. Get a bit more light around that side without blocking the camera. So the output side should be reasonably safe to work on anyway. So just check I've not got a short from anything I've been working on there. Just trying to get yeah, that's that 50 ohm, that's the load resistor, I think. Quick check they've got no shorts in there. Looks okay. Very small clearances on some of these because they're trying to keep the tracks as big as possible. This is all relatively low voltage on that side. So, power cable, which we've got hooked around the bench lamp so it can't pull things off the bench. And then plugging it at the other end. So, this is the the big question. Has it now got 5 volts on here rather than just a couple of volts, or less than a volt, or whatever it was? We've got 5 volts. It looks like those faulty caps were the problem. It was very good, but 5.01 volts. Very good. So, hypothetically, that should now work and turn on. I want to reassemble it. Oh, I'll go disconnect it and let it discharge first. It takes a couple of minutes to discharge. I'll do that myself. So, that's it until it's boxed up again. It's discharged itself. Try it out at some point. Though, end up using another power supply, another case in the machine I was building, so I haven't actually got an immediate use for it. But now it's got a standby output. The rest of it should be okay, I hope, because the standby circuit within this section, or rather within that section, the standby circuit powers the main circuit and all the switching enabling stuff from this side of the supply. So you can't actually turn the high current, the main supply on, unless the auxiliary supply is already working to allow the control logic to work. So, so that's it for a minute or two. I'll let it discharge for a bit, and then see what happens. But I might have got a spare motherboard I can try connecting it to. But yeah, that was the main problem bulk of it. That capacitor was both very low value. It's supposed to be a 1000 microfarad, 10 volt. There's reading about 300 and quite high internal resistance and leakage. And it's now got a 1000 at 16 in that. This one was a 220 at 16. It's now got a 470 at 10. But see, it's on a 5 volt output, that shouldn't hurt. This one that's the first stage smoothing before the choke is the more critical one that's going to get more hammer, and that's already got a much more appropriate heavy rated cap in there. Okay, so that's it. I'll let it discharge.